Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, as the chair has indicated, my name is Jeremiah Munji from the Public Service Commission Secretariat, specifically from the Organization Design and Career Management Directorate, where I'm serving as a director. As the chair has indicated, the invite was for our CEO, Mr. Paul Faber, and he had planned to be here, but then he was required to appear before Parliament on some budgetary issues, and then therefore he was unable to make it to this place. All in all, he explained to me the message that I should share with the participants, and this is what I'm going to do for the next 2 or so hours. So please assist me to project. Oh, it's already projected. So first, on behalf of the Public Service Commission, is to thank this network for coming up with this initiative. It has been done at the right time, and the CEO in particular very much supports this initiative and indicates that the Commission will work together with the officials and members to ensure that we make a difference in the public service in terms of human capital management and ensuring that we deliver the services expected of us by the people of Kenya. Of course, as we are aware, all of us, the people of Kenya are becoming impatient with the services they are receiving from the public service, the wider public service, because they would expect that the taxes they pay that has been bestowed on the Commission by the Constitution was being performed elsewhere, particularly in the then DPM. I'm sure that time you used to hear of DPM, Directorate of Personnel Management, at SCAC, which is the State Corporation Advisory Committee. So the Constitution consolidated the entire mandate of managing human resource in the public service under Article 234, and it was assigned to the Public Service Commission. As you may be aware, if I may take a minute or two to explain the history, when this happened in 2010, the Commission did not have adequate capacity to execute the expanded mandate. So based on the constitutional provisions, the Commission decided to delegate the mandate in writing to SCAC and to the Ministry of Public Service, which was then the Directorate of Personnel Management. In 2019, the Commission, in its own wisdom, decided to recall that delegation and decided to execute and oversight its mandate directly. What ensued were court cases for quite some time since 2019, but ultimately, the court, particularly the Employment and Labor Relations Court, settled the matter by reaffirming and cementing the mandate of Public Service Commission as the only agency in the public service mandated to issue policy documents on HR management and the specific areas covered by the Constitution in regard to human resource management in the public service is what is projected in the screen. I may not have to read each one of them word for word, but I'll just speak to them to appreciate this interface. That when it comes to staff establishment, determination of the number of positions you should have in a public agency, the approval comes from Public Service Commission. If those positions are to be reduced through what we call abolition, that has to be done by the Public Service Commission. If you are filling those positions which have been established, that mandate belongs to the Public Service Commission. However, because of the extended nature of the mandate, The Commission may not be able to carry out recruitment everywhere. So first, public service. Part of the execution, as you are aware, is also delegated to boards and chief executive officers who are the authorized officers in state agencies. Values and principles in Article 10 and Article 232. It is the Commission which is mandated to promote them and monitor, evaluate, investigate the extent to which public agencies are complying with those values in Article 10 and 232 in the public service. And then, the Commission is expected to ensure that the entire public service is efficient and effective by doing whatever it takes to ensure that that efficiency and effectiveness is achieved across the entire service. Training and development, capacity building is also the mandate of the Public Service Commission. When it comes to reviewing and making recommendation on terms and conditions of service, it is also the mandate of the Public Service Commission. As you might be aware, there was a recent court ruling that whereas our other independent agency, SRC, advises on salaries and benefits for the public officers, it is the Commission which makes the recommendations to the national government in regard to that matter. Code of conduct, qualification of officers, mandate of the Commission. Finally, in regard to county government, if there is any appeal from individual or groups of individuals or institutions in regard to any decision made by the County Public Service Board or the County Assembly Service Board regarding human resource, all those appeals come to the Public Service Commission. Finally, the Constitution provides that the Commission shall perform any other function and exercise any other powers conferred by national legislation. For example, through the Public Universities Act, the Commission appoints vice-chancellors and deputy vice-chancellors in all the public universities. In addition, the Commission is represented in the Judicial Service Commission, it is represented in SRC, and it is also it also nominates PSs and makes recommendation to His Excellency the President and the Parliament for appointment. Now, maybe in regard to the topic of discussion today, which the Commission was expected to present on, I want to explain how it aligns with the current strategic direction of the Commission. So in the Commission's current strategic plan, we have 3 key anchors to the direction the Commission wants to take in regard to the execution of its mandate in the next 5 years. The first consideration are the national priorities outlined in the Constitution of Kenya. Then Vision 2030, particularly the medium-term plan for the 4th MTP. And finally, the BETTER, which is the bottom-up economic transformation agenda of the running government. So we have 5 strategic goals which we intend to achieve as a Commission in the next 5 years, and which, as we are going to see when we go to the main body of the presentation, reinforces your area of focus on what you wanted the Commission to come and present on. First, efficiency and effectiveness in the public service, which you can see was in Article 234, is a key area of focus by the Public Service Commission for the next 5 years. The Commission is focusing on agile, motivated, and committed public servants. Again, this will speak into what we'll be presenting in regard to today's topic. How can we get employees who are committed and engaged, not just committed, but they are not just transactionally engaged, but they are engaged because they find purpose in what they do. Entrenchment of values and ethics in Article 10 and 232 across the public service. Advancing constitutionalism, rule of law, and optimization of institutional performance and productivity across the entire service, which you would agree with me, it has been a challenge in terms of the public service, because sometimes you would ask yourself, all of us here who are public officers, how many of your children went to public primary school? And yet we are public officers. These are the institutions we should be promoting, because this is where we work. How many of us would prefer to go to Kenyatta Hospital instead of Aga Khan or Mamaruse Hospital? And these are the public institutions. Okay? When you are hiring venues for your conferences and so on, which venues do you prefer most? Are they public institutions? If not, and yet we are the ones who are working in this public institution, then we need to ask ourselves, where is the problem? Okay? These are the issues of performance and productivity. Then we have 5 key result areas. The first is to build institutional capability for public service institution. And the aim is to ensure that the services we are offering to citizens, the people of Kenya who are the taxpayers, should compare favorably with comparable services that they receive from private organizations and other agencies. If we were to have a competitor to compete with these agencies which issues IDs, the passports, would everybody still prefer to go to Nyayo House, or they would prefer to go to that private agency? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves to see where the gaps are, where the rain started beating us, so that we can improve institutional performance and productivity. HR, in terms of what we had said, is competent, motivated, and diverse workforce in terms of ethnicity, disability, the marginalized, and the minority in our society. Compliance with Article 10 and 232, and the strengthening of the rule of law through the legal, policy, regulatory, and institutional framework. Now, as you may be aware, we have a new chairman of the Public Service Commission who came in the other day, just a few months ago. And when he came in, he spelled out a 6-point agenda on where he wants to take the public service, and which again aligns with the topic of the discussion today. One of the areas at which relates to the key thematic areas in the strategic plan is enhancing institutional capacity. In this case, we are referring to public institutions' capacity to deliver on the mandate expected of them by the people of Kenya. Performance management. The Commission is currently working with other agencies to enact the performance management regulations of 2021 to fully anchor performance management in the public service, so that we can be able to offer quality services and product, as the case may be, to the taxpayers. Boosting productivity. This is an area that also the SRC and other agencies has really been focusing on to ensure that the expenditure that we are incurring in terms of personnel management in the public service, the people of Kenya are getting value from the same. Ethics, issues to do with integrity and other areas is a key area of concern. In particular, accelerating digital transformation is an area that the current chairman is really focusing on. And in fact, this is why our CEO was not able to come, because they are looking for some budgetary allocation to finance digitization of some of these services across the entire service, with the aim of enhancing performance and productivity across the public service. And finally, he is keen on improving the welfare of the staff across the entire service. In regard to the topic of discussion today, the chairman has put a lot of emphasis on the role that technology plays in improving efficiency, transparency, and access to government services. And he has clearly indicated that the Commission will prioritize citizen-centered digital solutions and invest in research-driven innovations to ensure that we leverage on ICT to deliver on the expectations that the citizens of the Republic have. Now, with that background, I will now shift to the main area of presentation today in regard to the topic that was shared by this agency with the Public Service Commission, the Digital and People-Centered Public Service in Kenya. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on 7 major themes, which are the key drivers to digital and people-centered public service in our country. They are listed here. Then we'll go each one of them. We'll go through each one of them in some detail. Then we see how these forces are necessitating adoption of digital and people-centered public service in Kenya. Then thereafter we ask ourselves, as individuals, as teams, as institutions, what are we doing towards ensuring that we achieve agile public service driven by digital adaptation across the entire service? So the first one is citizen demands and demographics. Of course, as you are aware, the society is changing. 35% of our population are young people, very young people, the Gen Z. So basically, which means that this is the future of the nation. They believe in digital services, not the manual ones we are used to. Policy and legal factors. There are various policy and legal documents which are geared towards ensuring that we digitize government services within given timeframes. Fiscal pressure, as we are going to see, SRC has guided, and this was a pronouncement during the previous wage bill conference where His Excellency the President chaired, and it was agreed that public institutions should achieve that 5% of P should not be more than that 5% of your total expenditure. In other countries, it is even 30%. Technological push. We will also look at crisis and resilience lessons from COVID and others, regional and global competition, and workforce drivers. So basically, these are the 7 areas I'm going to focus on so that we have an appreciation of why we need to digitize. We leverage on ICT for purposes of ensuring that we deliver on what is expected of us by the people of Kenya. Let's start with the first one. Citizen demands and demographics. First, we are saying, as I had said, 75% of Kenyans are under 35 years. And in terms of mobile subscription, it stands at around 68 million, which clearly tells you that the kind of population we have today is not the population we had yesterday. These are people who recognize the importance of automation in whatever they do. So they have really embraced mobile subscription in a big way because they have appreciated the importance of ICT in whatever they do. And obviously, they expect even in the public service, when we are delivering our services, we shift from manual to ICT, digital economy. Citizens expect M-Pesa speed from government. They don't want to queue for long hours. For example, research shows that e-citizen satisfaction from the citizens is at 78%. But the satisfaction levels from the same citizens for manual service delivery is at 45%. So digital transformation leads to high public trust. Manual systems translates to complaints. Although it is also true to say some of these automated systems have their own problems, But some of these problems are man-made. They are not inherent to the systems. So if those challenges can be addressed, clearly you can see automation is the way to go. It will help us to move to the next level and maybe reach to the promised land that we have been talking about. The other aspect, the other demographic aspect is urbanization. Research indicates that 1% of the Kenyan population, they are urban, and this urbanization is growing at a rate of 4% per year. So which means that in some years to come, majority of the Kenyans will be living in urban areas. When they're living in urban areas, access to digital information and infrastructure will grow, and therefore they would expect the services they are receiving from the public service should also be available through those platforms and seamlessly. So the other aspect is social accountability. Look at these social medias like Twitter, X, TikTok. They are being used every day, particularly by the 75% of the young Kenyans, to expose delays and even rebuke our leaders because of bad service. So within 10 minutes, some of these things goes viral. So reputation risk is very high when we don't embrace ICT in public service. The bottom line is citizens will not tolerate mediocre public service. And you saw the other day when these young people, the Gen Z, were demonstrating. It is a sign of the future. They are not patient with mediocrity. They want services delivered the way they should be. They know they are right, and therefore, it is a wake-up call for us in the public service to do what we are expected to do. In terms of digitization, the other key driver for transformation through adoption of digital transformation is policy and legal drivers, starting with our Constitution. If you look at Article 232 on the values and principles of public service, one of the values is efficient, effective, and responsive public service. We move away from mediocre services to quality services which are delivered seamlessly to the people of Kenya. Article 235 of the Constitution talks about access to information. It is a right of the people of Kenya to access information because we are holding our positions on trust. Okay? Yeah, the Constitution says that the owners of the nation is the people. And therefore, the offices we hold them on trust. So whatever information that is of importance to them needs to be availed to them by those who are holding those offices on trust. Look at Vision 2030. Now we are in MTP4. One of the key pillars is digital superhighway and creative economy. And through the Ministry of ICT, which I want to believe they are represented here, this is an area they are really working on, because the other day they came to the commission asking for an expansion of staff establishment to help them have these officers up to the lowest levels on the ground to ensure that they achieve the digital superhighway and the creative economy agenda. And the commission was also impressed that they have been able to mobilize quite some resources outside the exchequer to ensure that this is achieved. And they have made quite a significant progress towards that. In terms of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, when you go through that agenda, you see that government is expected to be an enabler, not to be a bottleneck. So whatever that needs to be done to drive the agenda of the current government should be in terms of automation and digital transformation. Probably you have come across the Digital Government Act of 2023. It states that, among other provisions, that public service is expected, all services in the public service are expected online by 2027, which is just next year. So this shows that there should be urgency in whatever that we need to do to ensure that these services are available online within the shortest time possible. Go to the Data Protection Act of 2019. People-centered design, that citizens should own their own data, particularly the personal data. So processing of data should only be done with the consent of the data owners, who are the individuals. This can only be done effectively through the adoption of the digital system. Finally, the PSC strategy, maybe which some of you have come across, the 2024-2029 strategic plan, we are putting a lot of emphasis on culture and digital shift in the entire service to ensure that within the shortest time possible, we can be able to transform this service for the betterment of the services we provide to the people of Kenya and to each one of us. So as I had indicated, one of the main areas of focus for the new chairman of the commission is digital transformation, and this has started in earnest. He started off immediately by restructuring the ICT unit. He is lobbying vigorously to secure more resources through the parliament for digitization, and we expect that in a few short years, you should be able to see change in the public service through the various interventions the commission is putting in place. So the other key driver to digitization and the people-centered public service is financial pressure, and this is quite significant. Maybe most of us, because we have been in the service for quite some time, you are aware that even paying salaries these days is a challenge. It's a challenge because partly we have continued to embrace the manual systems, which have necessitated huge numbers of employees to do some work which could even be automated. We are struggling to achieve that 5% PE as a ratio to the total revenue, but it still appears to be a mirage. The Commission is working closely with other agencies to, as much as possible, manage this situation. Because if we continue this way, unfortunately, we might go back to where we were in late 90s. You remember during the structural adjustment programs, where separation happened and it was a bit clumsy. Okay? People are just had to leave the service without debriefing because something had to give. When you realize that the coffers are drying out and the expenditures are growing. One of the surest way of curing this is through digitization of the services so that we improve productivity, we cut on the cost of labor so that then we can be able to generate more revenue for capital expenditure, and we reduce expenditure on recurrent, such as salaries. Another key fiscal pressure is debt service. Over 60% of our revenue, as you may be aware, is going to the payment of debts. So we can't hire more staff. We must automate. Although the recruitment might still be going on, but mainly is for replacement. I know in the county government, there are areas that need to be addressed through the various county public service boards in terms of hiring. But if the trend does not change, you can be sure that something will need to give in a few years to come when you realize that we cannot sustain this recurrent expenditure, particularly on PE, unless we quickly embrace automation to cut back on this. Look at the cost of manual system. On average, passport backlog cost the country 2 billion per year in lost hours, and we have not counted the bribes because of use of manual systems. So these are leakages which can be avoided. If we automate the system, we improve the turnaround time, we cut back on these bribes, we cut back on the cost of labor, and we improve on service delivery by saving resources for capital expenditure rather than for recurrent expenditure. Another area is return on investment of digital systems. The last time I checked, eCitizen collected 100 billion at an administrative cost of 3%. However, on average, the cost incurred when we use the manual system is an average of 15%, which tells you is 5 times. The cost of using manual systems is 5 times the cost of using automated systems. Another aspect is donor shift. When I checked these World Bank and the EU reports, they tie them closely to digital governance outcomes. One of the key themes in the conditionalities from these Bretton Woods institutions is that digital and governance must be part of those proposals that we are making to development partners for funding. So digital, you are able to do more with the same people. If we continue with the manual system, that will lead to bankruptcy. So as we continue, I don't know whether you could be having any... Oh, I'm told we need energizer. Members. Yeah.
Where is our MC? Where is Chege? Chege? Hey? Chege has also taken a break. Guys, let's wake up and stretch. I can see a lot of things happening from here. I know it's an afternoon in Mombasa.
Welcome back. I know you've been here for a while. It can be understood. So I'm told we don't have much time because there is another session after this. So I'll try to move a bit quickly on whatever else is remaining, on the key drivers for digital at the people-centered public service. But before we continue, what I was being asked is the Commission issuing any policy document in regard to digitization of services? As I have said, our current chairman is hardly 3 months old. But as I had said earlier, one of his key areas of concern is digitization of services. And he has started, as I have said, by putting in place a unit to manage that. And maybe in the next financial year, which is starting in June, before the end of that financial year, we expect there will be policy guidance on automation across the entire service. So that one should be coming. For now, what we are doing, the Commission is in the process of issuing a policy on career management in the public service. And one of the major shifts is adoption of technology and flexibility. Rather than putting so much emphasis on academic qualification, professional qualification, and years of experience, the Commission is now moving towards performance and productivity as the key consideration in making decisions on appointment and promotion. And that one is likely to be coming out sooner than later for public participation, so that then you can also be able to give your input. So let me now move to technology. How is it pushing us as a public service towards digitization of the service? Mobile services penetration. Currently, there is 130% SIM card penetration, so that even the very old people, our grandparents, some of us have children who now our parents are great-grandparents who are still there. And they still transact using M-Pesa, even at their age. Some are as old as 100 years. And they'll still be able to tell you to send them money through M-Pesa. because it is easier for them to manage it at that point. So you can see the penetration of technology in our society. So us in the public service should be leaders in automation. In this front, government cloud and fiber, national optic fiber backbone infrastructure, and government data centers is now ready. So issues of saying that server is not working, whatnot, those will be the stories of the past. Maisha ecosystem, maisha number, digital ID, maturity of artificial intelligence. These days, large language models can speak in Swahili. Chat boxes are cheaper than thousands of clerks put in place to translate a document from English to Kiswahili. Financial technology rails through the M-Pesa application, programming interfaces. All this has made it very easy to transact, service delivery, money transfers, and many, many other things across the service. All these are key drivers to automation. Smartphones, very cheap. Around 2010, having a PC was seen to be a major achievement. These days, you don't need it. With 5,000 shillings or even less, you can be able to get a smartphone and do so much, much more than what a PC can do. So all these things are driving us towards the need of automation of our services. And we move away from the manual systems. Obviously, one might be asking, with all this ecosystem around us, why are we not changing? Obviously, because of human nature. Human beings, all of us, including myself, inertia sometimes tends to hold us back, and we prefer to sit in our comfort zone. Unfortunately, the only thing that does not change in life is change. So if you don't change, you'll be swept by change. So it would be better for us to get out of our comfort zones. We change, lest the change itself is going to change us, and it will not be business as usual. Another aspect that is driving us towards digital transformation is crisis and resilience. Just the other day, we had COVID. Ministries, state departments, and state corporations that had automated their systems, they thrived. Those that were paper-based, they suffered significantly. When we have floods, like the one we had recently, sometimes you find that we said trucks there, chiefs, sub-chiefs, district officers, and so on to distribute food. But when we started using the e-vouchers for relief services, it was transformative. Cyber attacks, manual records have no backup. Digital and cloud systems means continuity. Whether there are cyber attacks or not, with digitization, we remain resilient. Look at IBC, and we are headed here next year. With automation, you saw that over time there is a lot of improvement in terms of the trust that the people of Kenya has of these services compared to what it was previously during those other times, which I don't want to mention. So future crisis needs adaptive, digital, remote-ready government rather than manual systems. In terms of regional and global competition, look at our neighbors like Rwanda. Rwanda has a system called Irembo with over 100 services provided in that system. Us, do we have such a system? The answer is no. In Rwanda, citizens get passports in 3 days. What about us? It takes ages. In Estonia, they have a system they call X-Road system. 99% of their services are digital. 99%. So what we are saying here is doable because it has been done elsewhere. Look at the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Kenya business competes with digitized government. Our red tape equals to lost foreign direct investment because investors would prefer those nations with the right infrastructure, particularly in terms of digitization, rather than trading with the nations with so many bottlenecks. In terms of our SDGs at the Agenda 2063, Kenya is ranked at number 116 in last year but one. Our target is to be at top 50 in terms of digitization. Still some work to be done, but it is achievable. If you look at human capital, best ICT graduates would prefer to work for digitized organizations like Safaricom, like Google, and even if they are hired in the public service on the onset because they don't have jobs, with the time they keep disappearing to these other organizations where they are able to get that services. So all this shows the reason why we need to digitize. Finally, the workforce, Gen Z, 40% of the new recruits in the entire service are people who are under 30 years. They are moving towards automation, not manual system. According to an SRC report of 2020, 43 public servants report burnout, and this is mainly attributed to unnecessary red tape and manual working systems. Okay? Skills aspiration. In the olden days, our main focus was pension, but these days the young people are not mainly focusing on pension, it's the value addition. How can I make myself more marketable in the future? Not necessarily about the permanent and the pensionable jobs, which some of us would always look forward to. Then they are looking forward towards improvement of value. They work for a short period, then they move on. Look at leadership change. These days we have CSs, PSs, county executive committee members. Some are 30 years, something we have never seen before. There is a culture shift from the top, which means that it is a wake-up call for all of us that we are moving towards a new world order driven by digitization. And if we don't respond accordingly, then it will not be business as usual. So if we ignore drivers for change, youth will continue protesting, trust will collapse. If we do agree with change, citizen satisfaction will thrive. Wage bill crisis, Bretton Woods institutions takeover is likely to happen if we ignore digitization. However, if we embrace it, we are likely to see positive changes. Brain drain, missing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, MTP4 agenda is likely to happen if we don't embrace digitization. So there is no choice but for all of us to embrace digitization. So at the individual level, what do we need to do? We may not need to move mountain the way Moses was trying to do, but we can start small. Starting from Monday next week and ask yourself, what did I digitize today on Monday? Even if it is just a small form, even if it is payslip, that this month we are not going to print payslips. Let everybody go to the email and check the payslip. Let everybody use their mobile phones and download their payslip. Small things cumulatively can make the entire difference. If you are serving citizens out there, what have you done within a week, within a month, to help the citizens access these services online rather than the use of manual system? Okay? What did we do to make staff work easier in our respective organization? And these are things that we can do at the individual level. So our proposal is, if in this, through this avenue we were able to reach out to the policy makers, like the CSs and the PSs, we would ask them, can you sponsor one flagship automation? Just one. Can you visit Huduma Center unannounced per month and try to find out how are citizens accessing the services through online system? If you are the CEO, CEC, or chief officer in a county government, can you publish a county dashboard? Can you come up with a citizen hackathon, which is a kind of an RRI, geared towards ensuring that you automate some of those services? For those of us who are here in HR, can you kill one paper form this month? Can you start staff digital clinic in your respective areas, some of which costs nothing? There is no budgetary implication. Then all of us, the public servant, can we embrace speed in whatever we do when it comes to automation of our services? Much can be said, but much of these things depends on us as individuals. We may want to pass the blame to leadership, to say this is not happening, this is not happening, but us at the individual level, what are we doing to make a difference? The way Bagari Madai would say, we may keep blaming this government, this one, that one, whatnot, but you at the individual level, what are you doing to change our society? So we need to embrace change if we are to make a difference in our society. So having said that, once again, I would like to reinforce what the CEO, our CEO said in regard to this, that the Commission is very much willing to continue working with this agency or association and others for purposes of moving forward this profession. For many, many years, those of you who have been in HR for some time, HR has been treated as a side issue. We are seen like flower girls and flower boys. It's not taken to be a profession. It is out of these initiatives that we are going to transform this profession so that we can be respected like other professions, medical, engineers, and so on and so on. So we will continue working together. The Commission will continue working together with these and other agencies to ensure that we move this profession forward and overall the performance in the public service improves. So because I may not have any other chance, what I would request the chair of the forum is, once you make resolutions, I can see resolutions will be made tomorrow, they can formally be submitted to the Commission so that they can be actioned. Okay? And then we should be able to, you request for feedback on what the Commission is doing about it, so that then we can be, next time you will meet, you'll be reporting on what the various stakeholders have done in regard to the resolutions that you have made. Otherwise, thank you very much.